Personally, I enjoy stories that don't coddle children, and this is definitely one of those types of stories. Is that something that drew you to the piece at all?
Sure. I mean, one of the main reasons I was so impressed about A Monster Calls, the book from Patrick Ness, is the respect he treats childhood in his stories. In the story and the complexities of growing up. It's so rare to find this kind of material that deals with fantasy and this level of emotion, but at the same time being truthful to the kids.
I also, maybe it was me, but I found an insane amount of wonderful detail, and I'm thinking specifically of the first time Colin goes to hospital. He's got coffee cups, and there's actually a coffee in there, and there's a clock that's moving in real time. I'm just looking too far, or is this specifically things you're trying to say there?
Yeah, sure. I mean, every detail tells you about the story. I think that's what I love about filmmaking. It's like everything is important: the color, the framing, the objects in the set. Everything needs to add something to the story. There's need to be everything needs to have a reason to be there.
And all of your major films so far, the feature length, have all dealt with stories that are very involved around children. Is this also something that you have a specific interest in, or just happenstance?
Yeah, I remember being a kid and watching films that were told through the eyes of kids, and I always was very impressed about that. Even films that were not for kids, that were told through the eyes of kids, they created an immediate empathy, and I always love these kind of stories. In this case, it's a great fantasy film told through the eyes of kids, and it reminded me of movies I love or books I love that I read when I was a kid, like The Never-Ending Story or E.T., the film from Spielberg. I always been attracted to this kind of material.
Yeah, definitely a bunch of different, but I did feel like a little never-ending story type of when I was sitting there watching it. Now, again, in all your films, you have dealt with a lot of effects as of so far. And while a wave may be different than a creature, you're still kind of piecing together these little pieces that are, obviously you didn't know what was going to happen, what you're going to be signed to do next. But in ways, do you feel that this has like been playtesting for something coming up like Jurassic World that's like now like on a bigger scale?
Well, every film is a learning experience. The fact that we had to deal with so complicated visual effects in The Impossible and The Monster Calls, it's been a great help in order to define the visual effects in Jurassic. I think everything is always a learning experience. And it's great to be working in Jurassic right now with all that knowledge.
And when it comes to having Liam here as the voice of the monster, we all know his voice and we all know what it's going to be like. But obviously there are some other effects that are added to it. Was it easy to just like say, maybe we shouldn't put anything on top of it, or this is exactly what we need for that sound?
Yeah, we always try to get not just a voice but a performance. So we went through the motion capture experience from the very beginning. It was the first time for Liam and for me. It took us a couple of days to get used to the technology, but once we get used to it, it was very inspiring. The freedom that you have in order to recreate the scenes is incredible because you don't have sets, you don't have costumes. It was very exciting also to see the performance capture and see that performance in the digital character, and how can you bring the pace, the sensibility, the soul of Liam into the digital character is very overwhelming.